Welcome back to New World Next Week. I'm James Corbett of CorbettReport.com.
I'm James Evan Pilato from MediaMonarchy.com. Even in an emergency, the authority of the government is not unfettered. We've got that story plus warp speed side effects. But first, Amazon names ex-NSA chief Keith Alexander to its board of directors. Alexander will serve on Amazon's audit committee, the internet retail giant said, in a filing with the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission, the folks that, of course, lost thousands of those pesky insider trading documents in the collapse of Building 7. Keith Alexander, you might recall, came under fire during his time as head of the agency after former NSA and Booz Allen Hamilton and CIA contractor Lee Harvey Snowden leaked secret documents in June 2013 revealing the depth of NSA spy programs' collection of data on U.S. citizens, world leaders, and others around the world. Some of the programs have totally ended, you can be assured. Others, like the PRISM program, reauthorized by Congress since they became public. The other police state update on this first New World Next Week segment, DHS proposes massive expansion of biometric modality collection. Homeland Stupidity recently announced a notice of proposed rulemaking that outlines the agency could enlarge its collection of biometrics data by at least 2 million submissions annually. The 328-page draft of the new rule proposes to amend existing DHS regulations concerning the use and collection of biometrics in the enforcement and administration of immigration laws. And it notes, unless waived by DHS, any applicant, petitioner, sponsor, beneficiary, or individual filing or associated with an immigration benefit or request, including U.S. citizens, must appear for biometrics collection regardless of age. There will be new biometric modalities, including iris scans, palm prints, and voice prints. We have the 328-page PDF, Collection and Use of Biometrics by U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services, and that PDF is hosted by Amazon Web Services. James, this is all just for those dirty immigrants, right?
And U.S. residents and others. Yeah, no, of course not. And yes, we're calling this police state updates, but I think they're even more to the point. This is about biometric security updates. And that, of course, is just a subset of the broader category of biosecurity that I talked about in my recent podcast on COVID-19. But there's an even deeper thread that connects all of this that kind of comes out in when you start getting into the details of this and some of the stories that you're talking about there. For example, talking about collecting people's fingerprints, there was an interesting article up in Forbes, of all places, a couple months ago, delving into MITRE, which is this quasi-private kind of entity that does basically exclusively contracting for the government.
You can get, this is all very important, but I want to get to the judge, the ruling. So let me skip ahead, but this is the Corbett report. You can watch the whole thing there, and this, all this police state stuff is for real. Let me see if I can get to that point. Oh, there he is, Bill Gates. Going forward here, see if I got it here.
James, how about some not unfettered good news? We can add that to the New World Next Week lexicon. Our third and final story, all New World Next Week, episode 421. Federal judge rules Pennsylvania lockdown unconstitutional. This coming from the fine folks at offguardian.org. A surprising ruling from U.S. District Court finds Pennsylvania Governor Tom Wolf's decree that forced people to stay at home, limited gatherings, and ordered all non-life-sustaining businesses to shut down to be in breach of the Constitution. In a rare win for freedom in the days of the new abnormal, Judge William Stickman IV sided with the plaintiffs. Unsurprisingly, a group of small business owners sided with the plaintiffs against the states. A pretty great selection from the decision says, quote, even in an emergency, the authority of the government is not unfettered. The liberties protected by the Constitution are not fair weather freedoms in place when times are good, but able to be cast aside in times of trouble. There's no question that this country has faced and will face emergencies of every sort. But the solution to a national crisis can never be permitted to supersede the commitment to individual liberty that stands as the foundation of the American experiment. The Constitution cannot accept the concept of a new normal where the basic liberties of the people can be subordinated to open-ended emergency mitigation measures. Rather, the Constitution sets certain lines that may not be crossed even in an emergency. James, that is a pretty fantastic bit just from the giant decision. And again, the pushbacks have begun. I suspect we will see massive, possibly criminal lawsuits against the two guys running New York State and New York City at the very least. And
well, I wouldn't expect that to happen. These people always seem to get away with it. But as far as this violation of the Constitution, that should have been clear to everybody from the start. And we shouldn't even need a Constitution or a Bill of Rights to defend and understand our natural rights as human beings. This whole thing is crazy. I don't need some judge to tell me that I have a right to go to work or go outside or not wear a face mask or to be ordered to wear a face mask. That's totally out of line. And the people that drink that Kool-Aid, they're going to be the problem because they're the ones that will back up the police state to enforce these criminal laws upon us. Okay, I'm done. Thank you.